Hello, my name is Mando Mike, and in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm hopefully going to show you how to change the strings on a mandolin. This is aimed at absolute beginners. This is aimed at people who have never changed a mandolin string before, and I'm going to guide you through the process. So there's a few things you need before you can change mandolin strings. First of all, a mandolin. This is my Ozark mandolin. This cost me about £400, and it, as you might hear, needs restringing. So we're going to put some new strings on here. I have my actual full-time mandolin here as well, just as a backup, so I can kind of show you things and how they transfer to different mandolins. You need a set of strings to put on. This is not a sponsored video. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I just happen to have a set of D'Addario nickel bronze strings in my cupboard that I'm going to put on here. I normally use Elixir on my mandolin, so any kind of mandolin strings around the £10, $10 mark will serve you well. And then the most important thing is you need one of these things. I'll turn it on. You need a tuner. So you can have an app on your phone. There's one called ClearTune that's quite useful, but I use this D'Addario clip-on tuner. Any clip-on tuner will do the job. If I play a note there, you can see it picks up a G, and then picks up a D. So anything that picks up the note that you're playing and tells you whether it's in tune or not is vital to this process. So go and get those three things: a mandolin, a set of strings, and a tuner. And then let's start restringing a mandolin. The most important thing, or the first thing to do, is not to take all of them off. We're going to do this two at a time. So we're going to change the E strings, then the A strings, then the D strings, then the G strings. The reason for that is the bridge is not glued into place. We want the bridge to stay where it is. So if you take all of them off, your bridge is just going to come off. So we're going to do it one by one. Okay? Now, if your string has snapped, then you don't have to do this next process. But the first thing we need to do is safely take the current strings off. And I'm going to start with the E string. I'm going to start with the string furthest down here, which is this first one. This first tuning peg up here. So the way I do it is play the note and detune it. Just keep going, and I'm going to do it until, can you hear it's now coming away from the fretboard. So keep going until you get. So at the moment I'm just pinching the string with my thumb and first finger, and just sort of gently teasing it away as I detune here. You can see me turning this peg round here. And then there comes a point where it comes so loose that you can unhook it down here. And now it's a loose string, and then I'm just going to unwind it so it pops out there. We're done with that now. I'm going to put that on the floor, ready to be thrown away later. And then we can do the same thing with the next E string. Let's hear how it's now not even any notes. Could keep going. Pinch it between my first finger and thumb. Keep going. See how it's coming away from the string, the fretboard. And when it gets loose enough, I'll come in and close. When it gets loose enough, that'll just pop out there. And then I'll just remove it at this end as well. So there we go. Step one done. Our two E strings are safely removed from the mandolin, ready to have new ones put in their place. Okay, so I'm going to open my packet, and the E string is the thinnest one of the four. So that's this silver one with a little silver flag on. And they normally come wound up like this, so I'm just going to unwind that. It's kind of always awkward, this bit. So we've got our two strings. I'm just going to put one to the side. Important point, don't put this new one where you've just put the old ones, because I've done that before. I've accidentally tried to put an old one back on. So the first thing to do, and this is always a useful step, so turn the tuning pegs to get to a point where the hole that goes through the metal bit here is perpendicular to the fretboard. So the hole is now facing this way. So do that with both strings. Doesn't matter which way you turn the tuning peg here. So now I've got both of these. They'll come right in close. You see the holes are now both pointing this way. So that makes adding this in easier. So you've generally got two ends with a new string. You've got an end with a hook on, and you've got a straight end here. And so the straight end goes in that hole that we just turned perpendicular. I need two hands to do this. This is a fiddly job. So the string, right, turn that around there. Let's see, the string is now through that hole. And notice I went from high to low. I didn't push it in this way. I came in from this side, from my side, that way. So the end of the string is now down here. And then get your hand on the rest of the string. And now then, this is quite an important part. It's all important. So if we come down here to the tail piece, there are 8 kind of hooks here. Now, some of them come with these extra hooks down here. They're, in my opinion, unnecessary. So if your tailpiece has these, ignore them. And we just want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the 8 across here, ignoring these down here. So, if you remember our string, it has a little hook on it. So if you get that and hook it on, now make sure you hook it on the right one. So this is the string that is furthest away, so it's going to be the hook that's furthest away. So it's this one right in the bottom corner down here. Hold that right up there. It's hooked right on this bottom one. Okay? Now, at this point, I generally lie the mandolin, I don't need the plectrum at the moment. I generally lie the mandolin down. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to pull the string all the way through so it's flat like that. That's wrong. You want a little bit of string spare. I generally say about that much string above the fretboard, like that. Can you see how much? That's about how much I would put on. And then you start turning. Now this is really fiddly, so you want one finger to hold the tension on the string up here, which is my right hand, this one. It's kind of holding the string here. And my left hand is going to start turning. Now it needs to turn this way. So from here, it needs to go this way, which from my angle is clockwise. You see that? Clockwise. So I'm turning my wrist clockwise. To you it's anti-clockwise, but from your point of view looking at the mandolin, it's clockwise. And then just keep turning. Turn, turn. You're going to have to do this quite a lot. So I'm just winding that. And as you'll hopefully see, the string will start coming close to the fretboard as it tenses up. And as you do that, make sure the string slots into the 2 slits down here. So you've got one slit on the bridge, and again, we've got the E string that's furthest away, so it's going to go on the furthest slit away, and then the same up here. So just be careful as you turn it, make sure it slots into the right place. So, still turning. I probably gave it a little too much slack on that one, but it's not the end of the world. So, still turning it. Comes a point, so I'm still turning. Still turning clockwise. Okay, so now it's kind of tense enough that it's a string on its own. And this is where your tuner comes in useful. So at the moment I'll do this so you can see the tuner. So, here we go. Let's get this in position. So it's way too flat at the moment. So I'm just going to zoom up to around about the right part. So we're on, what note are we on at the moment? We're on about C sharp, and this is our E string. So not there yet. Keep turning. So with my tuner, I need it to go green. It's saying D sharp at the moment. So now it's E. And it's saying it's too low. So I'm just gonna keep turning. Can you see it now went orange? Getting there. Oh, it's going green. And there we have it. So that's one string added. It's now in tune, and it's an E string. So now I need to repeat the process with the second E string. I'm not going to do it as detailed, but I'll just describe it again in case you missed it first time. So end, the kind of the sharp end from this side goes through the hole, which is the fiddly job. Pull it through, get the other end with the hook, and now it's the second string from the end. So we want the second hook from the end, which is this one. So that's hooked on there. Use this hand to create a little bit of a height there. Just do this so you can see it. It's probably too much, probably about that much. About half a finger's width away from the fretboard, and then start turning. And if you keep your hand still, it'll grip. Then you can kind of put a bit of tension on, and then turn. Just keep turning. Remember, it's going this way at the moment, so you're turning it this way. You don't want to turn your strings the wrong way, then everything will be wired wrong. So keep turning, keep the tension in this hand, just so that you can kind of guide the string in. And as it comes closer to the fretboard, as you tense it up, slot it into the right slots on the bridge. So this is the second one from the end, so it's the second slot from the end. And then it's in the nut as well. Ooh, just popped out, there we go. And then eventually your finger won't fit underneath and you just let it go. And then you just kind of up through the gears till you get to about the right note. So when you're putting the second string on, you've already got one string that's roughly in the right place. So I kind of play the one I'm tuning, play the one I want to get to, and until they're about the same time, because the mandolin, it takes a while for strings to settle in, so don't be too precise when you're first tuning it up. Just get it roughly around, because it will kind of release some tension in itself and it'll go flat again. So you'll have to keep tuning for a day or two before it's right. So now you've got some extra string up here, and you can either snip them straight off with some pliers, or just while I'm changing strings, I just gather them together, just make a little loop like this, tuck that in there, and then just make a little circle with the spare strings just while I do the rest. Okay, so there we have two. If I get the tuner on, put it in there. I think it's gone off there. Just turn it back on. So it's gone way too flat now. It's done D sharp, so I'm going to play it. See now a flat E. Ooh, getting there. Getting there. Now it's orange. It's almost there. Now it's green. So that's about where we want to. That's about where we want to be to start with on our E strings. Your tuners may be different. Not all of them are colours. Some are kind of an arrow, and you want the arrow to be in the middle. But that's the general rule on how you change a string. So things to watch out for. Make sure you're putting the right string on the right one. I've made the mistake in the past. I tried to make a G string into a D string and it snapped halfway through and I ruined the whole set. Make sure when you're tensing it up and the string is dropping, make sure you're just guiding it into the right slots on the bridge and the nut. Make sure it's on the right hook, and make sure you're turning these the right way. So clockwise from my point of view when I'm turning these. So now I'm just going to whiz through the A strings. So first off, going to take them the old ones off safely. So you can do both at the same time here. So they're both loose enough. I can just unhook them at that end. I do both at the same time, and then just unhook them down here. So they're 2 strings safely removed, A strings. So it's the second 2 from the end now. And then I'm just going to line up that hole. Just going to turn these any which way so that I come right in close. You can see that hole is turning round until it's about vertical, sort of perfectly perpendicular to the fretboard. Take our first one. Doesn't matter which one of the 2 you're doing. Just make sure you know I do the next one along. So that's the third one. We've done our 2 E strings. I do this third one here. So you put it in top to bottom, pull it through a bit, kind of make this hand keep it there. Hook it in down here. Then just get the tension about right. So that's about there. And then start turning this way, same way. So now we're tuning up a bit more. Don't forget we want this in A, so it's G. So now we're on A, so get it green, that's about right. And then do the second one, same process, straight end, or the pointy end down there. Hook it on down here. Get the tension about there. Start turning this way. So there's 2 in tune, and then, as I said, just either get some pliers and snip that straight off, or if you're in the mood to just do that later, just make a little circle out of these so they're out of the way while you do the other 4. So there we have it. We're halfway through, 4 strings changed, and it sounds bad at the moment because that's what strings do. They take time to settle. So you can either just keep tuning as you go, so there we go, that's more like it. 4 new strings. So it gets a little different when you come to these 4, the G's and the D's, because you turn in the opposite way. So first of all, let's safely remove our D strings, which is now, again, turning clockwise, but this time clockwise is detuning. So, as I said before, all the way down to nothing. Unhook them down here, like we have been doing. Unwind them at the top, get rid of that, unwind them there, and then same thing here, line the hole up so it's perpendicular to the mandolin. Doesn't matter which way you turn it all the way around. Take our new string, and now this time we're going to go the opposite way, so you get the pointy end, and instead of going this way in, we're now coming from below. And so I'm going to start with the one at the top here, this kind of one at the very top. So it goes right to left, so we're now coming in this way. Because what we want is the string coming down the middle of the headstock. We don't want the string coming out the sides here because they'll all get mixed up. So we want each string kind of coming down the middle of the headstock, hence why when we come to these 4 we go in from the bottom. So pull it through a bit, get the other end, hook it on, get the tension. Now you can give it a little less tension because the strings are thicker, so you don't need as much down here. So I guess this time you only need a sort of 4 or 5 centimeters. I come in, I guess it's about there when I start. And then, just like when unwinding, we're now turning the opposite way. So I'm now turning anti-clockwise from my perspective. So this way. So that way. So effectively from there round to there to tune up. Make sure it's slotted in the right places. It'll go on pretty quick. I'll get my tuner. That's A sharp, C. So there we go, there's D. So once you get the hang of it, each string goes on pretty quickly. I'll now just very quickly do the second one. So I've done the same process as my second D string, so we're 3/4 of the way there. So all that's left is to safely move our G strings. No rude thoughts allowed. All the way down. See, look, I'm now turning clockwise to D tune because we're on this side. So keep going until it's loose enough to unhook. There's one. There's two. Unhook them at this end. There's that. There's that. Almost there. So, like all the other strings, I've got my hole lined up perpendicular. So I hold it this way, so the hole is kind of through here. So I take my sharp end of this G string, go from below through the hole, which is a fiddly job, like this. You see it through there. Hold it with that hand, pull it through a bit, take the other end with the little hook, hook that on the second to last one, push it through a bit. So again, you need even less with this final string, so only 2 or 3 centimeters will be enough. So hold that there, hold the tension with this hand, and with your left hand start turning anti-clockwise, and you'll very quickly start tightening this up. And get in there, get in there. So if I just do, and you have to be careful with the G because it very quickly becomes a G note. So if I hold that in the right place for you. Sharp. See, there we go, that's about right for G. So there's one. I'll quickly do the second one and then I'll just show you the finishing touches of tuning your mandolin. So there we have it, 4 strings changed in a matter of kind of 10 minutes or so, but I've been doing this for 16 years, so it might take you a bit longer, but it is fairly simple once you know what you're doing. It will go out of tune quite a lot for the next day or two, just as the strings settle, so just keep on top of it. They'll keep going flat because the tense and then the tension will be released, so they'll keep going flat. So just keep coming back, knocking them all into tune. See, every single string was flat then. So they're still not perfect because as soon as you tune them in, they'll start going again, and it'll take about a day to settle down. I'm going to get some pliers, just snip these ends off, so leave about 1/2 centimetre of this left, just so there's, you're not cutting right next to the tuning peg. And that's it. 8 strings changed, no major dramas, and 1 mandolin ready to start playing. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the comment section below, or head over to mandolmike.com. And if you've enjoyed this, please do hit subscribe. These methods will work with any mandolin with kind of this. There's some slight variations. Sometimes the pegs are down here, but this is a pretty good standard method of changing strings on your mandolin, whether it's F shape or A shape or any other shape. So happy picking. See you soon.